podcasting's choice. From coast to coast, continent to continent, right here 24/7.
PNR.
Hey guys, welcome to another week here on Ring Around The Rosie. I'm Kim Brown, aka Platinum Rose Lady, aka your hostess for this little shindig. I hope everybody's week has been going well. My week's been going okay. Obviously, we have to talk about the big deal before the other big deal that happened yesterday. Everybody was talking last week about the fact that, WWE announced that they were going to have this women's battle royal as part of WrestleMania to go along with the men's battle royal. And how everybody was like, yay, awesome, it's about time. And the WWE announced that they were going to call the battle royal the Fabulous Moolah Memorial Battle Royal. And everybody who was going, yay, fantastic, great, went, wait, what? Because of all the stuff that's come out about Moolah, allegedly, and needless to say, as I mentioned last week, the WWE universe and the internet and everybody else flipped their shit. Lots of outcry, lots of screaming, yelling, social media exploded. I'm amazed that Twitter didn't just melt. And the WWE actually listened. I couldn't believe it. They announced that they took Moolah's name off it. It's now just going to be the Women's Battle Royal. As far as I know, they haven't announced anybody else. They quit running all of these promos with women singing Moolah's praises. And they're now just running promos talking about women in wrestling and all that stuff like that. I have to be completely honest. I was like, holy fucking shit. I realize, I'm sorry, starting off the show with vulgarity. Yay, First Amendment. But speaking as someone who has been a wrestling fan longer than some people who may be listening to this show have been alive, this is stunning. This is freaking stunning, and I can say that on a deeply personal level. Story time. Back in the day, as I mentioned, I've been a wrestling fan for a long time. And then I fell in love. And I met this wonderful person that I've talked about on here before, TC, who is my guy, my fella, my Mzadi, my rock, my apple of my eye, cream in my coffee, all that kind of stuff. He's a great guy. And at first he was like, wrestling, okay, fine, have fun with that. But eventually I sucked him in. And he became a big fan too. And we watched together, and he had his favorites and I had mine. And one person that he was very impressed with his athleticism, and still is, to be perfectly frank, is Sean Waltman, a.k.a. the Lightning Kid, a.k.a. the 1-2-3 Kid, a.k.a. Six, I could go on and on and on and on and on. X-Pac, so on, etc., so forth. He was a big fan of Sean's athleticism and, really followed his career, quite intently. And I was like, great. Someone to back up. That's great. Fantastic. I'm so glad you're getting involved. And he was a real big fan of Sean's career. As I mentioned before, still is. And there was a point in the WWE when they had introduced, Sean Waltman, as the 1-2-3 Kid, he was this, bright-eyed and wide-eyed innocent in the whole thing. Eventually, they wound up turning him heel, and he wound up siding with Ted DiBiase, blah, 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 and feuding with his former buddy, Razor Ramon. This all led up, culmination-wise, in what was referred to was a pay-per-view match, a crybaby match, which thankfully they don't do anymore that much, where the whole thing of it was the loser would wind up powdered and put in a diaper and so on and so forth. When it was announced that this was actually going to happen, TC was like, this is a horrible idea. And I kind of was like, well, I wouldn't have done it. It's not where I would have gone, but, what are you going to do? And him being the proactive person that he is, that doesn't just sit on his behind and complain about stuff, he actually decided, nope, I'm going to do something about it. And I was like, well, what are you going to do? Now, you have to understand, this is way back in the 90s when the internet was still, not the streaming giant that it is now. I mean, we actually had to use modems and wait for dial-ups and things like that. And if somebody picked up the phone in the other room, the internet crashed. I realize for some people this may all be incredibly shocking, but go with me. So, TC, who had a little newsletter that he was doing at the time, which I contributed to sometimes, he went out there in his little newsletter, on his own, and said, this is a stupid idea. It's a stupid idea, and it's going to hurt the kid's career. And quite a few people said, hey, you know what? That guy's got a point. And we don't want to see this. The WWF at the time made it abundantly clear that they didn't give a shit what the fans wanted, and the fact that the fans were saying, we don't want this. The WWF at the time basically was like, well, fuck you, we know what you want. And a few other things happened, which I won't go into at this time. But the bottom line was the match did happen, and looking back at it from a wrestling fan's point of view, I myself, me personally, with no coaching from TC at all, happen to agree with him that it did hurt Sean's career. It did make people take him less seriously, and it probably led to the fact that he wound up leaving the WWF and showing up in WCW eventually as Six-Pac, where the most arduous thing he had to do was answer the door. I realize, Sean Waltman's friendship with Kevin Nash and Scott Hall probably had a lot to do with it, but the fact that this incredibly talented guy, for the most part, was doing, valet work, it was a sin. It was a complete sin. The reason I bring all this up is because that was one time the WWE didn't listen. And there have been a shit ton of other times they haven't listened. When certain people get pushed to the moon, when certain people get held back, when certain angles were put forward and continued with that were vulgar, racist, just plain stupid, made no sense, completely illogical, broke every law of physics, broke a fuck ton of laws of decency. Yes, I'm looking at you, Triple H, for the Katie Vick stuff. And, all these other things where the fans howled and screamed and pulled their hair and beat their breasts and gnashed their teeth. And the WWF, eventually basically went, well, we know what's best, so you'll just take what we give you and like it. Now, I find it really interesting that we have hit a point in time when the fans have screamed and screamed and screamed in a very short period of time, and screamed this loudly, and the WWE blinked or backed down, or however you want to look at it. I'd rather not make it such a aggressive sort of chest-thumping pissing contest, but why this happened, I think there are several factors that, when you put them all together, I think make up a very interesting number of reasons why it happened this way. Number one is the fact that the internet is a lot more powerful than it used to be. Number two, the fact that the WWE is now a publicly traded company. I mean, there were things back in the day. I keep going to the back in the day stuff. I'm sorry, I'm old. When the WWE was in the whole ruthless aggression era and all that stuff like that and all other, they were really out there with the violence and the sex and the blood and everything else. The sex I don't miss. The blood, man, do I miss that. I miss those times. But there were times when certain groups out there would be like, oh my gosh, the WWE's gone too far this time. And they would complain to sponsors like Coca-Cola or other places that were sponsoring the WWE, and they'd say, well, we're not going to buy your product anymore if you keep advertising on the WWE shows, blah, 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 pearl clutching rage. So they would drop their sponsorship for a little while, or threaten to, but eventually they would probably come back. But now that the WWE is a publicly traded company, they have stockholders to answer to. They have people that can go, well, wait a minute, this is really getting the fans upset. You really shouldn't be doing this. And they have to actually listen to these people. So kudos to the WWE for actually listening. And I'm just amazed. I mean, to be perfectly honest, I'm amazed they did listen. I am stunned beyond stunned that they listened. Personally, like I said, I really wish you'd listened back in the 90s, you guys, because you might have had a cruiserweight revolution a little earlier because you let one of the best damn cruiserweights in the business slip right through your fingers to go off to your competition and answer the door. I shouldn't belittle Waltman's time in the WCW. I really shouldn't. I know he won a few belts over there, but for the most part, they could have rocketed him to huge heights in WWF at the time, but it is what it is, and you can't change the past unless you have a TARDIS or a souped-up DeLorean or whatever. So, moving forward, we are going to talk about the shows this week, Raw and SmackDown. Raw on Monday night came from Dallas, Texas. And we begin the show with Kurt Angle coming out to the ring, talking about the fact that Roman Reigns is not there because he is still under suspension. Fuck you, Vince. And is not going to be in the building that evening. Kurt also says Brock Lesnar is not at the building yet, but he is supposed to be there that evening. Oh joy, oh rapture. Kurt then talks about the tag team battle royal that had been the week before. Now, for those of you who have short memory spans, the week before there was a tag team battle royal held to determine who would be facing Cesaro and Sheamus at WrestleMania. So you had all of the Raw tag teams, and it was going to, be a good battle royal, we hoped, when all of a sudden Braun Strowman came out and said, I want to be in this battle royal. And everybody else was like, fuck you, you don't have a partner. And Braun Strowman was basically like, fuck you, I'm Braun Strowman, I go where I want. So, because Braun Strowman is slightly shorter than Bigfoot, into the match he goes and eventually tosses pretty much everybody out on his own and wound up winning a tag team battle royal all by himself. Yay, I guess. The thing is, as Kurt's talking, he winds up with an unexpected guest in the ring, and that guest being Roman Reigns. At first, I was kind of like, is he in the crowd? Oh, no, wait, no, he's not in the crowd. He's okay. He's in the actual ringside area and getting in the ring. Okay, this is not gonna end well. To quote one of my favorite film franchises of all time, I have a bad feeling about this. Kurt, needless to say, is like, why are you here? You're kind of trespassing. To which Roman is basically like, I don't give a shit. And he's talking to Kurt about the fact that, Brock Lesnar is not here again, and basically brings up, as he'd done before, some very good points. That if anybody else besides Brock Lesnar disrespected the company this badly and disrespected the fans this badly, they would be fired. But for some reason, because he's Brock fucking Lesnar, he can just show up when he wants. And that's clearly a load of fuckery, and I really don't blame Roman for feeling that way. And I'm not just saying that because it's Roman Reigns and I want to do things to him that would frighten fish. But, you know, and if you know what movie that came from, you're a chick. Kurt winds up leaving the ring, and Roman just grabs a chair and sits down. So we're going to have a sit-in. Can you have a sit-in with one person? And if you remember what sit-ins were, congratulations, you're older than me. We have some U.S. Marshals who come down to the ring. We know they're U.S. Marshals because it says that on the back of their outfits. Okay. And I'm kind of like, I'm sorry, shouldn't you be like doing actual work? I mean, don't you have actually work? They couldn't get some Dallas police officers or whatever, but you know. And they get in the ring and they handcuff Roman. Now, there are occasions when that would actually please me. This is not one of them. And one of the other marshals reads Roman his rights. And Roman isn't, you know, he's not fighting them at first. But one of them keeps, like, you know, kind of steering him toward getting him out of the ring. I'm like, he knows the way out of the ring, dumbass. This is his job. And Roman kept telling the guy, don't touch me. Guy kept touching him. And that led to some fisticuffs. Well, not really fisticuffs because Roman's got his handcuffs on. So that's, you know, it's pretty sad when these guys are, you know, supposed to be U.S. Marshals and Roman manages to kick the shit out of all three of them while handcuffed. Oh, that's going to look really good on your job evaluations in a few months, isn't it? I'm kind of like, okay, so you're U.S. Marshals who don't have clubs or tasers or anything like that. What, did you leave them in the back when you went for the donuts? What the? All right, okay. That was uncalled for. I'm sorry. The second it came out of my mouth, I'm sorry. To all the brave women who are U.S. Marshals and put their lives on the line for nitwits like me, I do apologize. That was a low, cheap shot joke, and I'm better than that. At least I like to make like I am. Now, of course, while Roman's handcuffed, that's when Brock Lesnar's music starts. He proceeds to get in the ring and pretty much almost murder Roman Reigns while he is handcuffed. And this goes on for entirely too long, ending with Roman getting an F5, and all of this beating goes on while he is handcuffed. Eventually, Brock leaves, and a stretcher is brought out to take Roman to a hospital because somebody finally went, oh my gosh, he's killing a man out there. And there are some people in the crowd chanting, you deserve it. To the people chanting, you deserve it, now I'm... oh, I have to remember I'm Catholic and it's Lent. To the people who were chanting, you deserve it. To the men who were chanting, you deserve it. Because it was all men, and you all know it. And you all know why, you jealous fucks. You have the right to chant, you deserve it. That is your First Amendment right to do that. It is my First Amendment right to tell you to fuck off and take a flying fucking leap at a rolling donut on a gravel highway. Yay, First Amendment. Roman is put on the stretcher and Brock's music plays again because apparently he can't come out unless he has a cue to come out because, you know, he's not exactly the brightest bulb on the tree. And he pushes the stretcher over by, you know, showing what a big, powerful, strong man he is by pushing over a helpless, handcuffed opponent who's already been lashed down to a stretcher. He pounds on Roman a few more times and then finally leaves. And we go to commercial. Okay. Fuck you, Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar, you are a fucking coward and a bully. You are a shit human being, and if I had a son, I would never want him to look up to somebody like you. 'Cause you're a dick. Yay, First Amendment! When we come back from commercial, we see the unbelievable assault that just occurred. And we see Roman being put into an ambulance. I'd also like to ask, where in the friggin' fuck were all the law enforcement officers when Brock Lesnar's beating up a handcuffed individual? I mean, really? Seriously? Okay. We have a video recap of Alexa Bliss facing Asuka this evening, showing the video from last week of Alexa and Mickie James. I don't know why I said Missy. With Alexa and Mickie basically just being a couple of bitches. So in other words, they're being themselves. And Alexa finally admitting that she's using Nia Jax. And Alexa says that she has something to say before her match actually commences, and she is in the ring with Mickie, because of course Alexa has something to say, because we can't have nice things. And Alexa basically goes on and basically is just being her usual bitchy, oh God, I want to slap the fucking shit out of you self. The end of it being that she intends to end Asuka's streak, her winning streak, and we have Alexa going against Asuka in a non-title match, and I'm sorry, Alexa Bliss ending Asuka's winning streak has about as much chance of happening as me opening my door and finding Christian Bale dressed in the bat suit being like, I'm here to take you on nights of ecstasy. Yes, I may have a superhero kink. I'm a woman. I have needs. Don't judge me. Asuka winds up winning the match by countout, and after the match, Nia Jax music begins to play. She comes out to the ring and almost completely flattens Mickie James. I mean, it was ugly. It was like, wow, that looked like it hurt. And yet, I don't feel bad. Could we watch that a few more times, actually? Nia grabs Alexa, and Alexa gets away from her, probably because of the thin layer of slime on her. And this proceeds to go into a whole chase thing. And Alexa gets into the crowd. I'm sorry, people in the crowd need to be a little more proactive. If this was ECW, they would have just grabbed her and thrown her back. Damn, I miss ECW. Nia beats up on Mickie some more, and again, that was one of those I could watch that all day long kind of moments, Nia manages to chase Alexa into the back, and we wind up going to commercial. We come back from commercial, and Kurt Angle is on the phone with somebody. And Alexa comes in and starts ranting that Nia should be suspended or arrested. And Kurt Angle apparently finds his spine because he tells Alexa that he heard what Alexa said, and that millions of young women, including Kurt's daughters, heard what Alexa said, and that the WWE Women's Champion should be a role model and not a bully. I'm like, well, hell yes, Kurt. Thank you so damn much. Kurt then says that he's going to give Nia a match against Alexa at WrestleMania for the Raw Women's Championship, and Alexa looks like she's going to burst into tears and throw a tantrum. And I start laughing maniacally. I do that sometimes. We get Braun Strowman coming out to the ring, so that should be interesting. Braun with a microphone is always entertaining because fuck it, who's gonna take it away from him? And nobody's gonna be fucking stupid enough to cut his mic off, and he's probably large enough that he wanted to, if he was, he's large enough, tall enough, and strong enough that if he wanted to yell, the whole arena could hear him anyway. He brings up how he won the tag team battle royal last week all on his own. And I'm kind of going, yeah, Braun, we kind of know that beginning of the show, dude. He says that he's going to be going to WrestleMania. Again, who the fuck's going to stop him? He was told earlier in the evening that he needs to have a partner in the match against the Bar, which kind of makes sense, the whole tag team thing. I mean, it'd be kind of funny if he went out there with him and a sock puppet. I mean, I'd laugh, but then again, my sense of humor borders between bizarre and downright sick. So, he says he doesn't think he needs a partner. Since he is a big, tall, scary man, I'm kind of inclined to agree with the big, tall, scary man. 'Cause I have a sense of self-preservation. Sometimes. He feels like he can win the tag team belts by himself. Again, big, strong, scary man. I'm gonna go along with what he says. He gets interrupted by Sheamus and Cesaro, and they start talking trash about the fact that, he can't beat the both of them and all this stuff like that. And they're talking about how they have to, Cesaro's talking about how you have to build up chemistry with your partner. You have to train with your partner. You have, train together, drive together, eat together, sleep together. And Sheamus has to, kind of, jump in there and be kind of like, well, when we mean sleep together, we don't mean sleep together. And a whole bunch of people that write /fic on the internet just went, basically Sheamus and Cesaro tell Braun that he can't get it done, and Braun tells them to shut up. It's direct, but when you're built like, when you're built like a redwood tree, you can pretty much be direct and not really, people don't really have a problem with it. Sheamus winds up asking Braun if he thinks he's tough. I'm like, I'm sorry, have you met Braun Strowman? Flipping over ambulances and trucks and shit? You guys, that went under the radar, apparently? I don't, whatever. Sheamus also brings up they've beaten all the tag teams on Raw, and Braun and his partner, whoever his partner is, are going to follow that same road. Braun brings up that he has a partner, and he gets to have a match against one of the two of them right now. It turns out that his match is going to be against Cesaro, although Sheamus is in Cesaro's corner. Needless to say, Braun Strowman winds up winning after a power slam. We go to footage that was allegedly shot earlier in the day at the Hardy compound because, oh, yes, we're having this. Matt Hardy, broken, woken, whatever, token Matt Hardy, I don't know, has invited the WWE Universe to watch what needs to happen because he is going to he wants everyone to see what's going to happen to Bray Wyatt, and he's doing this for his, as he calls them, his progeny, because he can't say kids like a regular person. He tells his drone, Vanguard 1, because he talks to his drones and names them because Matt Hardy, he tells the drone to monitor the property to make sure that no intruders show up, and also lets Senior Benjamin know that he has to prepare for annihilation. Said in that weird ass, I don't even know what the fuck it is accent that Hardy's got going with his Sweeney Todd hair, and I just don't fucking get it. Following that, we have Titus O'Neil and Apollo, who are out there with Dana Brooke, going against Dash Wilder and Scott Dawson in a match that winds up with Scott Dawson and Dash Wilder winning after they hit the Shatter Machine on Apollo. We get an interview afterwards with Dawson and Wilder talking about WrestleMania and how they plan to be they're pissed off about the whole thing with Braun Strowman too, entering as a tag team, although they do, that he's got a partner allegedly. So their whole thing is they've decided they're going to go into Braun's world, and they are going to be the first tag team to win the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. Okay. Whatever you say, guys. I don't know how that's going to work, but whatever. I'm getting a Hunger Game, end of the Hunger Games vibe here happening. We get the final inductee for this year into the WWE Hall of Fame, and that is the world's strongest man, Mark Henry. So that's going to be interesting. We have Sasha Banks in the ring after a commercial, and she is talking about the whole thing that happened at Elimination Chamber, and it's just, basically this whole friendship splintering even further. Although she does say she's going to be the bigger person and forgive Bayley for the way she acted at Elimination Chamber, and I'm like, what? Bayley says she was angry and acted impulsively in the tag team match they had a couple of weeks ago where she refused the tag and basically abandoned her partner. It's hurtful. I don't want to see this friendship break up. I like Sasha and Bayley as friends, and if you people turn Bayley heel, I am going to be beyond pissed off. Unfortunately, we have Paige and Absolution interrupting, and Paige shooting off her mouth, and we wind up with a match with Sasha Banks and Bayley versus Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose, which ends with Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville winning, with Bayley being the one to get pinned. As I mentioned, I really don't want to break this team up. I don't want to break this friendship up. I like it, and I will be really pissed off if they turn Bayley heel. After another commercial break, we have John Cena coming down to ringside and getting in the ring. And John launches into another passionate plea for The Undertaker to accept his challenge for WrestleMania. And the whole thing, the whole entire thing, I'm sitting there thinking to myself, and I've never thought this before, John Cena missed his calling. Because if John Cena had someone had steered him toward the pulpit instead of the ring, that guy would be the best preacher I've ever seen. I was sitting there listening to him talk, and I'm like, wow, that dude could be an amazing preacher if he wanted to. The problem is that after this big impassioned speech, somebody does come out to the ring to answer John's challenge, and that somebody is Kane. Yippee. John's actually excited Kane's come out here, and I'm like, you do remember Kane's the person that lights people on fire, right? You do remember that, right? John asks Kane what his brother's answer is going to be, and Kane chokeslams the shit out of John for his pains, and then leaves. I'm like, fuck you. Fuck off. Fuck this shit. That was fuckery. I don't want fucking Undertaker light. I want The Undertaker. I didn't want Kane. I felt royally fucked over by the end of that. We get more footage the footage again of Roman getting the shit kicked out of him by Brock Lesnar earlier on. In case I haven't mentioned it, fuck you, Lesnar. There's an update on Roman's condition where they say that he's not going to be released from the local hospital. That's never a good sign. And then we get The Miz in the ring with Curtis Axel and Bo Dallas. before we get Miz on the mic, we get more footage from the Hardy compound with Matt trying to get some advice on how to defeat Bray Wyatt from George Washington. And no, I don't mean that he's got a Ouija board and communicating with the ex-first president. No, George Washington is a giraffe. What the actual fuck? I didn't even know it was legal to own a giraffe as, like, a pet. I was completely blown away by that. Seriously, I'm sitting there completely freaked out. I'm like, that's a fucking giraffe. I mean, I like giraffes. They're, you know, beautiful animals and graceful, and they've got such pretty eyelashes. You ever look at a giraffe's eyelashes? They have these really long eyelashes. But I'm like, what the hell, man? Where the hell do you get a fucking giraffe? I mean, eBay? I mean, I don't know. I'm like, weird. Okay, anyway, Matt Hardy, whatever. Miz in the ring runs down Finn Balor and Seth Rollins, and also runs down the indie fans in the bingo halls and all that stuff like that. I'm like, oh yes, the indie fans, Miz. Let's talk about the indie fans who would have laughed you out of the building. You know, the indie fans who would have torn you to pieces. You're cute. Before the match that they're going to get in, Seth Rollins comes out to ringside and sits at the announce table. And we get Miz and the Miztourage versus Finn Balor, Carl Anderson, and Luke Gallows. And we get an amazing match from everybody involved, with Finn, Carl, and Luke picking up the win. After the match is done, the heels wind up jumping on Balor and beating him up. Seth Rollins comes down to the ring and winds up beating on Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel, and hits a thrust kick on the Miz. And we see Finn Balor and Rollins in the ring, standing face to face as they stand over the body of Miz, because we all know they're in a three-way dance at WrestleMania. And I know there's a shit ton of people writing fic about this now. Not me. I mean, I'm just saying, you know, people write what they write. We're back out at the Hardy compound and the Lake of Reincarnation. I'm not a theology student, and I don't play one on TV, but I'm pretty sure reincarnation doesn't work like that. Anyway, where we have Matt taking advice or solace or whatever from Skarsgård, his boat, because Matt Hardy, I don't know. Another commercial break. We come back and are told that next week John Cena will be facing Kane in the ring. We get a video package focusing on Ronda Rousey, and it was interesting. You know, it was an interesting package. It wasn't, it was this kind of standard stuff, but it was still interesting. We then begin the whole, wow. I have to say, the thing that happened before this match, I was kind of like, I really don't think that was called for. Michael Cole, before the match that would follow, the Ultimate Deletion match with Matt Hardy versus Bray Wyatt, apologized. He basically said, what you're about to see on TV, I'm sorry that you're going to watch it. Now, a lot of people have speculated the reason that this bit of, I don't know what you'd call it, was put in, was because the whole Matt Hardy compound thing, the whole Lake of Reincarnation thing, the whole what the hell is going on with Matt Hardy thing, that all started in TNA. And the reason that the WWE has been so sniffy about all of this stuff, and they had Michael Cole say all that shit, is because the WWE is pissed off that this is what the fans want, but they didn't come up with it. So it is what it is. And we wind up with the Ultimate Deletion match of Matt Hardy versus Bray Wyatt. I really don't like that name. I'm sorry. I realize it's a hopefully, one-time match. It's just that name is, I'm sorry, Ultimate Deletion sounds like something vaguely Germanic, and I don't mean that in a good way. This is, honest to blog, one of the weirdest things I've ever seen in my life. I'm watching this whole thing, this match, which involves drones and pianos and holograms and lawnmowers and rowboats and other people getting involved and so on and so forth. And I'm just like, what am I watching? And why can't I stop watching it? It was like wrestling seen through the lens of a fever dream. And a lot of peyote. Not that I would know what it's like to take peyote. I can't even describe this match. I can't. I could try. But we do get a shot. We do get Jeff Hardy showing up at one point when we have a little sing-along of the whole world, and he's got the whole world in his hands. My problem with seeing Jeff again was the fact that because we're going along with this whole woken Matt Hardy universe, Jeff's back to looking the way he looked in TNA, where it looks like he's been bit by a walker and is slowly turning into a zombie. You know, the whole clouded over eye thing. I'm like, damn it, Jeff, I thought you got that fixed. I'm sorry. I'm like, I don't want zombie Jeff Hardy. Matt winds up winning the match with a twist of fate and pins Bray Wyatt on the grass. Bray says after the match that it's not over because, okay, you're evil, we get it. And Matt winds up knocking Bray backwards into the lake of reincarnation. Matt tells Senior Benjamin to retrieve Bray's carcass from the lake. I'm like, did we just watch a man drown on national TV? I'm not sure. Senior Benjamin, after poking around in the water for a few minutes, says there's nothing to find. There's Bray Wyatt's not there. And Matt says the Great War is over and that Bray Wyatt has been deleted, and we go to credits, and I'm just sitting there going, what? I was just like, what the? I need to lie down. I was like, all right. It was just completely wow. I mean, and a lot of people online, I figured that people were going to go online and rip this to bits. And most fans actually seemed to really like it. You know, they or at least found it entertaining. I have to admit, I found it entertaining too. In a what the hell was that kind of a way, but it was still entertaining. So, moving on to the next night, which was SmackDown Live. We begin SmackDown by going back to a very sad night, February 8th of 2016, which was the Raw where Daniel Bryan announced that he had to retire from wrestling because of medical concerns. And then we go to what happened yesterday, which was the news that WWE released that made the internet go completely mental. The news that Daniel Bryan has been medically cleared to start wrestling again. To say that people caught this and ran with it is an understatement. We're in Texas again. We're in Dallas again. And we begin the show with with Daniel Bryan coming out to the ring. And I gotta say, he looks great. I don't know what he did to his hair. It looks like he might have cut it a little bit. And it looks fantastic. Thought the beard looked great because he's finally got it, cut to a way that's not like some scraggly, kind of look that he used to have. Being married actually really works out well for him. Daniel gives this really emotional talk in the ring, and it was really beautiful. It really felt beautiful and real and from his heart. And, you know, the fans were like, welcome back, and, you know, all this other stuff, which was great. I thought it was really nice. At one point he was talking about how his wife, Brie, is, you know, it was a major factor in him coming back because she never let him give up. And I thought it was really nice that while he was saying that the fans started chanting, "Thank you, Brie." And I thought that was really nice. I mean, most of the time, a lot of people think that wrestling fans are a bunch of selfish assholes. And the fact that certain fans are selfish assholes doesn't help. But when things like that happen and you hear the fans be appreciative like that, I think that's really nice. So kudos to Dallas for doing that. And it's, like I said, it's really, really beautiful. And Daniel says that now he's going to talk about the fun stuff, that he doesn't know when he's going to get back in the ring. And the crowd starts pointing to the big WrestleMania sign. People start chanting WrestleMania. And Daniel asks the crowd if they think, you know, that sounds like a good idea. And of course the crowd's all like, fuck yes! He's not sure about WrestleMania, but he definitely wants to come back and wants to come back soon. After commercial, we see Daniel in the back, and he gets congratulations on coming back from referee Charles Robinson, and also gets congratulations from Dolph Ziggler, who then says he can't wait to beat him in the ring, and Daniel says Dolph can try. Not on your best day, Dolph, and not on Daniel's worst day. Ain't happening. AJ Styles comes out to the ring and sits at the announcer's table for the match that's coming up, since one of the people in the match is going to be his opponent at WrestleMania. We have Rusev, who has come out to the ring with Aiden English, going against Shinsuke Nakamura. Lots of back and forth in this match, which makes sense because both of these guys are really good competitors. And Nakamura winds up winning with a roll-up. After the match, Aiden English comes in the ring and jumps on Nakamura, and he and Rusev start beating on him. AJ kind of sits there for a minute and doesn't do anything, and finally gets up to be like, well, I'm going to go help him. And it turns out Nakamura doesn't need his help because he manages to kick Rusev and Aiden's asses. And so AJ was kind of like, okay, oh well, you know. I was like, wow, AJ, don't break any land speed records trying to get in there. Phew. The next thing we get is a package, the video package talking about the match that's going to happen, with Asuka and the women's SmackDown title holder, who right now is Charlotte Flair. Charlotte has a little bit of a snark fest backstage with Natalya, who has the cat ears on. You know, the whole crazy cat lady thing, it's not a good thing. I don't know why I'm not sure why Natalya thinks this is like something you want to aspire to. I'm not sure. AJ and Nakamura wind up meeting in the back, and it's not exactly, hey, thanks for saving me, oh no, wait, you didn't, you know, kind of a deal. We get Baron Corbin in the ring going against Ty Dillinger, with Corbin winning that match with an end of days. Following that, we have Charlotte Flair going against Natalya in a non-title match, which turns into a complete clusterfuck. Because during the match, Carmella's music starts playing. She comes down to the ring and tells the referee that she wants to cash in her Money in the Bank match during this match. But Charlotte gives her a boot, which puts her out of the way long enough for Natalya to sneak behind Charlotte, grab her in a roll-up, and get the 3 count. Since the referee never rang the bell about Carmella, she still gets to keep her Money in the Bank briefcase. So that didn't seem to really do very much of anything, really. We get a video update on Shane McMahon from the hellacious beating that Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens gave him last week. And after commercial, we come back to the Usos talking about the fact that they've, got this whole rivalry now going on with the Bludgeon Brothers, which leads to Jimmy Uso, who has Jey Uso in his corner, going against Luke Harper, who has Eric Rowan in his corner. The winner of which winds up being Luke Harper. Big surprise. Jinder Mahal and Sunil Singh walk out to the ring, and we see them walking to the ring, and we are told they're going to be, Jinder's going to be talking once we come back from commercials, so everybody can, go get drinks or whatever. Jinder on the mic is talking about how we're all hypocrites and blah, 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 and, blah, blah, fuck you, yada, yada, flambe. Bobby Roode's music interrupts him talking. Thank you, Bobby. Bobby says Jinder's a hypocrite and says that he doesn't deserve any respect, which he doesn't really. And since the match at WrestleMania is now a three-way dance between champion Randy Orton, Bobby Roode, and Jinder Mahal, Randy Orton comes down to the ring and it turns into a big mess. With people getting hit with finishing moves everywhere, ending up with Orton trying to do an RKO on Bobby Roode, but Bobby manages to evade that. We get a shot of Becky Lynch and Naomi in the back, and we get another commercial. We come back to a tag team match of Becky Lynch and Naomi going against Sarah Logan and Liv Morgan of the Riot Squad, with Ruby Riot in their corner. The winners of the match are Becky Lynch and Naomi, after Naomi gives Sarah the rear view and Sarah has to tap out. We see Daniel Bryan in the back on the phone, and he is told that Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn have finally showed up. He tells the PA that he's going to see the both of them in the ring. We come back, Daniel Bryan is in the ring and waiting for Kevin and Sami to come out. Kevin and Sami come out, and for a while it's basically them kissing Daniel's ass. And Daniel basically is like, you guys really fucked up last week. I mean, huge fucked up. And he tells them the thing that he doesn't understand is why they did it. They had gotten what they wanted. Shane had said last week he was leaving. He wasn't going to be involved anymore. He was going to, step back and take a leave, and everything was going to be fine. I mean, he did put Kevin and Sami in a match at WrestleMania, but what the fuck's wrong with that? You're in a match at WrestleMania. What the fuck is your problem? But you guys decided that you still had to basically prove you've got dicks and beat Shane up. So Daniel tells them that, you're fired. He tells the both of them that they're fired. And Daniel offers to shake their hands. And that turns into a spectacular beatdown, but not before we get a couple of shots of Daniel Bryan kicking the holy fucking fuck out of both Kevin and Sami, proving that, Daniel, you still got it. But at the end of it all, it's, a numbers game, and Owens and Zayn wind up beating Daniel half to death. And the show ends on the two of them basically, beating, like I said, almost beating Daniel to death, and we get the credits. Now, during all of this, the announcers aren't talking to show you how serious shit is. To which I have some problems. A bunch of referees come out and try and stop what's happening by standing around and waving their arms. None of you have anchors chained to your body. Get the fuck in there. The announcers are standing right there. Now, I realize Corey Graves is injured and really can't do very much, but the other two dudes, Phillips and Saxton, grab a chair and get in there, I was not happy with the end of SmackDown. I know we're trying to establish that, Sammy and Kevin are really awful heels and terrible people, and look what they did. And it's to really stir up the fans, hoping that they're going to get their comeuppance at WrestleMania. I get it. But this was a little too much, in my opinion. And since we are all pretty sure that it's going to lead to Shane and Daniel versus Sammy and Kevin at WrestleMania, if that doesn't happen, I am going to be really fucking surprised. Perfectly honest, straight up with you guys. So, that's my show for this week. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions or comments or queries or complaints or anything you'd like to send my way, please do so at platinumroselle@yahoo.com. Put Ring Around the Rosie in the header, and I'll know that it's due to my show, and I will definitely read it and get back to you. If you would like to listen to the other shows I'm involved with, which I hope you will, I have another solo show. It's called Platinum Rose's Garden. That is my Supernatural podcast. I am a huge fan of the CW show Supernatural, and you can check me out over there. It is also not safe for work. And there are the other shows that I do that are part of our little family, including Subject Cinema, which is our movie podcast TC and I do. Right now we are in the middle of Masochistic March, which is looking at bad movies all month, and this month we're looking at bad Star Wars ripoffs. Oh. And I gotta be honest, this month is killing me. I am not lying, folks. It's really painful. We also have Front Row 5 and 10, which is our list show, where we have lists every week, which I hope you'll check out as well over at Front Row 5 and 10. And TC has a solo show called Catastrophe Vortex, looking at disaster movies because he's a real big disaster movie junkie. He has 2 mini shows, 3 Minute Weekend and Tuesday Digidex, where he's looking at the new releases in movies, DVDs, straight to cable, that stuff, so you can plan out your week. There's other shows that are part of our happy little family, including Cavebabble with Eric and Valerie, and Comic Grotto with Aunt B and Pee-wee. We have Manhattan Hammerdown, which is a dramatic production that all of us are involved in, celebrating the 10-year anniversary of the film Cloverfield. I hope you'll check that out. Just Google Manhattan Hammerdown and you'll find it. If you'd like to follow me on Twitter, you can do so at PlatinumRoseLady at Twitter.com. And that's going to do it for another week here on Ring Around the Rosie. This is Kim Brown, a.k.a. Platinum Rose Lady, signing off for another week. Have a great week, guys. Bye-bye.
Podcasting's choice. From coast to coast, continent to continent, right here 24/7.